Hey there, it's J-Dog. Hey, today I'm at the Mass Central Rail Trail in New Braintree, Massachusetts. This rail trail is in central Massachusetts. I put up a little map here so you can see where I am in central Mass. And today what we're going to do is walk a section of this Mass Central Rail Trail. This rail trail was built on the Mass Central Railroad trail bed. And this railroad ran from Boston to Northampton. The previous video I did on the Norwottuck Trail, that was actually the terminal end of the Mass Central Rail Trail. And so where we're standing now is actually in the central part of the state. And that railroad, as I mentioned, ran from Boston to Northampton. It's about 104 miles. And today, about 51 miles of that rail bed have been made into a rail trail. Where I'm standing at this trailhead on this section of the Mass Central Rail Trail, this was actually the site of the railroad station for the Mass Central Railroad in New Braintree. Massachusetts, back in this rail bed was put in the late 1880s. And in the late 1800s, Massachusetts was crisscrossed with these little short line railroads, which this was one of them. But this was the site of the New Braintree rail station. There was a lot of these little rail stations in central Massachusetts because it was primarily a passenger rail road that ran through here. But let's get walking on the trail, and I'll give you a little bit of a history of this railroad, and also you can see what the trail looks like. Well, today I'm walking with my wife again, Annie, who's with me on the rail trail. And I'll show you a little bit of what this trail looks like. This is crushed rock on this trail, as you can see, and this is probably one of the nicest quiet walks in the woods that you can get. That's why we like walking this particular rail trail. It's very peaceful through this wooded section here. It doesn't get too much use. You won't see too many bikers or people like you saw on the Norwottuck Trail. It's a very busy trail. So I'll give you some quick history of this trail. As I mentioned at the start, this railroad bed originally went from Boston to Northampton. It was completed in the late 1800s, I think 1888, 104 miles, and it was primarily a passenger rail. They ran 3 daily trains from Boston to Northampton, and I think there was 1 freight train. It was a pretty popular rail bed. Calvin Coolidge rode this rail bed quite frequently. Calvin Coolidge, even though he was born in Vermont, he lived for several years in Northampton, and he was the mayor of Northampton. He was a state rep, he was a state senator, and ended up being governor of Massachusetts, and he kept his home in Northampton. So he rode back and forth on this rail bed quite a bit. The rail bed was in use until 1938. The hurricane wiped out a lot of things here in central Massachusetts. The section that I'm walking on right now that goes from Wheelwright to Northampton, that actually ran until 1974. And it was used to haul freight from a paper mill in Wheelwright, just up the road here, to Northampton. So, and then once it was abandoned, it was in the 1990s that they started making rail trails. And that section that I did from the Norwottuck Trail was one of the first ones built, I think in 1994 or something. And this section, they built a rail trail here just in the past few years, so this is relatively new. One of the reasons I like this trail is that there are 3 of these old abandoned railroad bridges on this trail, actually within quite a bit of close proximity to each other. This one I'm walking on now goes over the Ware River, and give you some shots here to show a pretty setting here for this river. This is really a very rural setting, and that's the river flowing southwest down towards the Connecticut River. You can see that's kind of the upper section here. It's a slow moving river. It warms up quite a bit in the summertime. Not a strong flow here. But no, it's nice having these old bridges here you can walk across. I'll take you down, show you one more quick clip so you can just get a sense for what some of these look like. Here's another one of these little railroad bridges. Actually, this is a replacement. This is actually a new bridge they put in here, but kind of out in the middle of nowhere here. Nice little bridge and passing the woods. I forgot to mention that this section of the rail trail is about 3 miles long. So you can do a 6-mile hike out and back or a bike ride. It doesn't connect to any other rail trails, even though the rail bed is in place. This section is only made into a trail. After we get done walking here, we're going to go up and walk another section of it where they have completed a trail in the town of Oakham and Rutland. So now I'm standing on another section of the Mass Central Rail Trail. I'm in the little town of Oakham, Massachusetts, which is about, I want to say 10 to 12 miles from where I was before in New Braintree. But this is the same rail bed, and this is a new section of the rail trail. It doesn't connect with the other one, but this one is about 6 to 7 miles long. It starts in the little town of Barry, which is about 2 miles down the trail that way, and it goes about 5 miles from here to the town of Rutland. And it's a nice trail. Again, it's all through the woods. I'll show you a little section of it here in a second. But where I'm standing was where the railroad station for Oakham was. It was called Colebrook Station. And the reason it was called Colebrook Station is where there's a little village here called Colebrook Springs. It was noted for its sulfur springs. It was just actually down the road here. And there were 2 hotels here in Colebrook Springs, gas stations. It was kind of a nice little resort area. People came out here from Boston to kind of soak in the springs. But this is where the train station was. And that train station was built in 1887, was operating till the hurricane came in 1938. This is just a historical plaque about the train depot. I'll let you read it. I'll actually put up a better picture of that train station so you can see a little bit more what it looked like. Again, it was a small building, just a passenger stop for the train. And you can see behind me here what this trail looks like. This is a crushed rock trail. As I mentioned, it's about 6-7 miles long. It's popular with bikers because it is so long. You get a good 12 to 14 mile bike ride out and back when you go on this trail. I walk this quite a bit. I like it because I get a good 4-mile walk when I come out here, and it's not quite as quiet as the New Braintree section. There's a major highway just down the road here, so you do get some traffic noise, but it is you can see it, most of the trail looks like what you're seeing right here behind me. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video of the Mass Central Rail Trail. It's a nice trail both to bike on and to walk on. It's got some long segments and some segments going through some beautiful wooded countryside. I'm standing on another bridge here on the rail trail, but I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe. See you on down the road.